What's up guys, Matthew Costa here, back at it with another video for you. Today's an exciting one. So I just got back from a photo shoot I did with a good friend of mine. He needed a couple portraits and headshots. So I thought, now that I'm back here at the desk, I would edit them with you. So you can kind of consider this a tutorial slash an overview of how I edit my photos in Lightroom. So let's get right into it. So we are back after that intro, and I literally just got home from the photo shoot. So we're gonna plug our memory card, and I dropped it. We're gonna plug the memory card into the computer. And then here on the desktop, I'm gonna show you how I kind of set things up. So as soon as that shows up, we have it right here. What I like to do is I like to open up the memory card, and I will go to the folder with the files, make sure that they are all here, scroll all the way down. Perfect, they're showing up. I just like to know which file it is so we can see the first image right there. It's just a test shot of me. So we're gonna move this to the side, we don't need it right now. So we're gonna open up Lightroom and we're gonna hold the we're gonna hold the Option key on a Mac, I believe Alt if you're on Windows. And here we go, it's gonna ask for a catalog. So right now we're gonna go to create a new catalog. So I like to create a new catalog for every photo shoot I do. So I'm just gonna go to my pictures folder, it's 2019. We're gonna make a new folder for the month. This is November when I'm filming this. So we're just gonna create that folder. And then new folder, we're gonna name our photo shoot is going to be YouTube tutorial. And I spelled tutorial wrong. There's only one I. There you go, YouTube tutorial. We're gonna create that folder. And then we're gonna save, this is the name of the catalog. YouTube tutorial as well. So we're gonna create that. And it's to create our Lightroom catalog and open up Lightroom. Now, yeah, we got the little beach ball. First thing we're gonna wanna do, we can ignore this update, don't show that again. We're gonna go to our library because we gotta import our photos. So once you're in your library, you wanna just head over here to File, Import Photos and Video, or you could use the Lightroom import button. So we're gonna make sure right now, for me, it automatically came up that it's importing directly from our memory card. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click this copy as DNG option. Now what that does is it copies the files off of our memory card and then makes them or sets them up as a DNG file, which stands for digital negative, into our hard drive as our backup. So what I'm gonna do is make sure that's set, and our output location or destination, we're gonna go here, and it's already set to 2019, but I'm gonna close June. We're gonna go to November, and then YouTube tutorial, and then I have it set up into subfolder DNG. So it's automatically gonna create a DNG folder in the YouTube tutorial folder. Then right here, we just want to uncheck all. Then we're gonna scroll all the way down. I have a lot of photos on this memory card, more than I need. All the way down. We're gonna skip the video files. We're gonna click on the last picture, then we're gonna scroll up, wait for it to load. Okay, sorry, we're back. For whatever reason, the thumbnail previews aren't loading. However, I know that this is the first image from today because I took a look on in Finder. So we're gonna hold Shift and click it. That's gonna select all of them. Then we can, now that they're all selected, we hit the check mark, and it's gonna, all our selected photos are gonna have their check marks, and we can just click import. And then you can see right here, importing files, and you can see your progress up here. So it's gonna copy all the folder, it's gonna copy all of your pictures to your hard drive or wherever destination you set, as well as converting them to DNG. It's gonna import them first, then convert them. So I'm gonna cut this and come back once this is done. Okay, so we are back. Everything is done importing, everything is done, converted, yada, yada, yada. All the files are right here. So taking a look, we can see we have all of our pictures kind of lined up like this. This is actually my second time recording this. I had technical difficulties the first time. However, You can just ignore that some of them have already been slightly edited. Anyways, the first thing I like to do is very quickly sorting them. So I like to click this button right there, and it shows me just one image at a time. And I go through in order of the ones that are selected, and I give them all a star rating. I usually start by going through anything I think might be nice with giving it a 3-star. I'm gonna just kind of 3-star, 3, any that I think might be nice. Now you can notice with the images that the white balance is off. That's because I set that white balance incorrectly in camera because I was shooting video somewhere else and I forgot to change it when I shot these pictures. But that's okay because we're shooting raw and we can adjust all of that anyways. Like you can see here, these 2 images, I already changed the white balance. We can just ignore that though for now. What I'm doing is using the arrow keys to change through the images and hitting the 1 through 5 keys on my keyboard to give them a star rating. Right now I'm just anything I think is nice giving 3 stars. Then we can go down here where it says filters off or no filter and change it to rated, and anything now with a star rating shows up. Now we can change that to 3-star, and if we do 4-star, nothing shows up. So now we have all our 3-star images. We got to go through and pick the ones that will be that we actually want to edit, anything 4-star. So this one I'm just going to give 4 stars because I think it looks good. Same thing with this one. And now I have to decide between this image or this image. I'm going to skip that one. We're going to give this one a 4-star because it looks pretty okay. This one looks all right, but I have to decide between the duplicate here. And I'm going to go with this one and not this one. Now between these images, the person I did this photo shoot for already saw these and says they want both of these, so I'm just going to 4-star both of them, and this one here at the end, 4-star. So you can see here when we click the 4, the one that we didn't star disappears, and we only have these 6 images for us to edit. Now that we have our 4-starred images, it's time for us to go to develop. Just click right there and we can develop our images. Now I'm going to show you on the first one as an example of what I do. So we're just going to ignore all the changes I made last time. We're right here at import. So starting off, I want to adjust the exposure so I can actually tell what everything's supposed to look like. Because as you can tell by our histogram, we have a lot of shadows. Our highlights are way too blue and nothing else. So what we want to do is increase our exposure a little bit to balance out the image. Now what we're looking for is the face. Now, if we have anything overexposed or blown out, that's another thing. But right now I'm focusing on the face. And right here, I don't want these highlights to go. One thing you can do for skin tones is if you hover your mouse over the tone, you can see that you get over just underneath the histogram, the RGB value. For Caucasian skin, I usually want to keep it around 90 or under at the highest highlight. And pretty much the same goes for people of slightly darker skin tones like this gentleman here. You want slightly different values for dark people, but in this case, you can see we're around 80 to 75. Obviously the blue's way up because the white balance is off, but for now we have a good exposure. I'm just gonna make slight adjustments with our highlights, bringing those down because we do have some overly bright areas. Shadows, we can bring up a smidgen, not too much because that will kill our contrast otherwise. Once that's done, I think it is finally time now to go on to white balance. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. We can use the default presets, so let's try that. So if we click a flash preset, because I did use flash to shoot this, we can see the white balance is pretty close. However, at least to my eyes, this image is a little too orange. So we can either adjust it manually after the fact or try a different preset. So let's say try daylight. That looks about the same, a little too orange. Cloudy is way too orange. Let's try shade and even more orange. So let's go back to flash. And then we can adjust it to make it just a little bit cooler. And for the most part, that works. Another option is to see this eyedropper. If you click that, you can go somewhere in the image and it'll set the white balance. What's really cool is before you click, it shows you a little preview up in the top left corner. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but you can see as I move my mouse around, it gives me a live preview of what the white balance will look like. So I can pick an area, and you know what? Nothing is really giving me a better white balance. So you know what? I'm just gonna leave this as is. So that ended up being 5301 Kelvin with a tint of neutral. And if you do find you need to change your tint because your image is either too green or too magenta, you can. Normally it is a very subtle thing, but it's always nice to have the option to make micro adjustments. For example, this versus this now looks a little green in comparison to this, where I've added a little bit of magenta into the image. This looks more neutral to me, so I'm gonna leave it here. Next thing I like to adjust after I have my exposure and white balance correctly set is right here under presence. We're gonna change our vibrance and our saturation. Now I almost never touch the global saturation because I find things get out of hand way too quickly. Whereas these bricks in the back look good, but his skin looks very garbage, as well as all the colors in the background are way too oversaturated and distracting. So what we are gonna do is set that back to 0. What we can do is go to our history tab and we can click on the last adjustment we made, which was tint in this case. And now if we go back, change our vibrance, what I usually do is increase the vibrance a little bit. And if we click here, you can see the effect or the difference that makes. And what vibrance does is colors that are already saturated don't get increased, whereas colors that aren't saturated increase, which is why you can see his face, there's very little change, whereas the colors in the background get boosted a little bit. So I'm actually gonna decrease how much I increase the vibrance by, because I don't want anything in the back to be too overpowering, but I do like bright colors in my personal style. Next setting right here is HSL, and this is what I like to call the magic settings for portraits. Now, this gentleman specifically doesn't have a lot of redness to his skin, but this is still a general rule of thumb, and I'm still gonna do these changes, and I almost always do these in portraits, especially for Caucasians who have a lot of redness in their skin. You wanna go to hue, and you're gonna go to red, and I will, actually, sorry, not hue, we're gonna start off in saturation rather. We're gonna go to the red, and we're gonna decrease the saturation just a little, as well as go to luminance and increase it a little more as well. And this just will reduce and even out the redness in their skin. Another thing we can do is just slightly increase the orange saturation, which affects skin tones. And this is true for people of all skin colors. It is all in the range of orange colors. Now, if we go back to luminance, again, we can affect the luminance of the orange color channel, which in this case is the skin as well as the bricks. I am actually gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna Control Z to undo my change. Actually, looks like it can use a little bit of extra brightness. So I'm gonna bring just a smidgen in, not too much. Now, this image I know isn't great, but it was a good example to show you because of all the colors in it. If we zoom in here, we always wanna check our focus. And you can see in this particular image, the camera's autofocus missed ever so slightly. So his eyelashes are not in focus. Now the way to check this is by hitting the space bar. And when you hit the space bar, it's gonna zoom in from your fit setting to your zoom setting. So say if I change this to 1/16 and I hit zoom, it goes to fill to 1/16, which is small. I can use this to change it to say 8:1, which is really zoomed in. And so now every time I hit space, it's gonna go from fit to 8:1. I like leaving it at 1:1 and quickly hitting spacebar to access a zoomed in image. This image is pretty much done editing. However, sometimes I like to go down here to post-crop vignetting and add a vignette. So what I'm gonna do is just drag this down negative, and you can see the more I drag it, the bigger and more of a vignette there is. So what I like to do is add just a slight vignette just to darken up the edges of the image and highlight the subject's face right there in the middle. Super easy, super quick. However, I don't want to go overboard with that. You can always play around with the rest of these settings and see what they do for you. Moving on, there's one more thing I'd like to show you in editing. Now, this particular image doesn't need it, but I will show it to you anyways. Now, if I need to make adjustments, say, to just the person's face, and I don't want to make global adjustments because I like the background, I like where the background's at right now, I can click right here on my Radial Adjustments. And what this does is it lets me draw a circle, and wherever I place this circle is what's affected by the adjustments I make. Now, if I hover over it, it shows me what's affected, or I can hit O on the keyboard, and that brings it up permanently, and I can see in red what's affected. So I'm going to shrink this down to the size of their face. You can also rotate it by clicking just outside of it, and it lets you rotate the circle or oval in my case. And the darkness or opacity of the red is how much it will affect. Oh, I accidentally clicked off. I'm just going to bring that back. So by default, it's already doing dodge lighten, probably because that's the last setting I used, and that's actually what I want. So by default, it increases the exposure by 0.25, but I can adjust that more. However, you can see we can't see our adjustment. So to do that, we have to hit O on the keyboard again, and it shows us our image. And you can see as we change the settings what it does. Now, you don't want to overdo this because it'll look blown out, at least in this particular image. So I think the default of 0.25 is actually fine. If you want, you can increase the shadows here as well, reduce some dark circles. However, that actually makes this particular face look worse. So really, we're just gonna lighten it up a little bit. We don't even really need it. I just wanted to show you this in case you do in your particular images that you're working with. So now that everything's edited in this image, I've showed you from start to finish how I edit my images. I'm gonna go ahead and edit the rest of them, come right back and show you how to export. Okay, so we are back. All the images are edited. As you can see here, I have the 6 of them. And so basically now I'm going to show you how I go about exporting my final images as different file formats when they're ready. Now, super simple. You can do this from library or develop. I'm just going to do it in the library. And you want to click on your first image, then click on the last one with Shift. That's going to select all of them. Now, if you only wanted to do one image, you just click the one you want. I'm going to do them all. So we have them all selected. And you go up here to File, and you're going to go to Export. And it's going to export to hard drive, export to specific folder. So you click the Choose button, and you're going to choose where you want to export your images to. So I'm going to go to 2019, November, YouTube tutorial, and in the YouTube tutorial folder where I have my DNG and my catalog, I click New Folder, and I'm going to name it Exports Full, because I'm going to do the full resolution exports here. Click Create, choose, and that's the folder now we're doing. If there's an existing file, always leave this as Ask What to Do. This way you don't accidentally overwrite anything. Rename. Now this is where we can rename the images if we want. So what I'm going to do is custom text and name it YouTube tutorial. And you can see here what this is going to do is name it YouTube tutorial-1.jpg because I have it set to custom name sequence. You can do custom name, original file number, custom name sequence, custom name X of Y. So like for example, 1 of 2, or sorry, 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 5, 4 of 5. Date, and then the file name, just the original file name or file name sequence. You can always add more templates, but I don't really need. Start at number 1, extension lowercase, JPEG as an example. This isn't a video, we could skip that. File settings. You have JPEG, PSD, Photoshop file, a TIFF, DNG, or the original, so I'm just going to leave it as JPEG. Color space, I'm going to export it to sRGB. If you don't know what that is, leave it at sRGB. Quality, I always want to make it as high as possible, so 100. Now this is where you can resize the images if you want. By default, when I upload websites or images to my website, I have them at 2500 at the longest edge. But right now, we can just uncheck that. Doesn't matter, it's going to leave it at their original size, which from my camera is 4000 by 6000 pixels. Output sharpening, no, because Lightroom already did the default sharpening. Metadata, just going to include it, doesn't change anything. Post-processing, none. Watermark, none. And you just hit export, and you can see in the corner, it exports the 6 files. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like down below. If you really like that video, please be sure to subscribe. I will be producing much more photography content for you guys. Thank you and have a great day.